They say marriage is between two people. They lied. I married a man I loved, but I didn't know I was also marrying his sister's pride, her ego, and her hatred. If someone had told me that my marriage would break, not because of infidelity, not because of money, but because of his sister, I would have laughed. Not anymore. I stood by the bedroom window that night, my fingers trembling as I clutched the edge of my nightgown. Outside, the wind howled, and inside, my heart was cracking quietly. Chijoke was downstairs, laughing. Again, with her, Amaka, the woman who had turned my home into a war zone, marked with sweet smiles and subtle jabs. It started small. Comments about my cooking, my dress sense, how I kept the house, things I could ignore, things I tried to ignore. But then it escalated. She's not wife material. I once overheard her saying on a phone call in the kitchen, I don't know what my brother saw in her. Too soft, too quiet. I pretended I didn't hear. I washed the dishes with shaking hands, but it got worse. She started walking into our room without knocking, taking my clothes, disrespecting my boundaries. And Chijoke, he just strong. She's my sister, Daisy. Don't be dramatic. Dramatic? I stopped talking about that. That was the point. The worst night came a week ago. Amaka stood in the living room with guests, our guest, and laughed loudly as she said, Adeze is trying, Sha. I mean, she's not the kind of woman I imagined for my brother, but at least she tries. Everyone laughed, even Chijoke. I smiled, excused myself, and cried silently in the bedroom. I wanted to believe it would change, that Chijoke would finally see how much she was hurting me. They had chose us, but every time I tried to speak, he shut me down. She's family, Ada. And what was I? A stranger in my own home. That night, as the wind beat harder against the windows, I felt something break in me. This marriage wasn't killing me because it was loud. It was killing me because it was silent, because I was disappearing slowly, and no one noticed. I packed a small bag, not because I wanted to leave my husband, but because I needed to find myself before I become someone I couldn't recognize. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my packed suitcase. My heart felt like it was being torn apart, but deep down I knew there was no turning back. The sound of the front door opening made me flinch. Heavy footsteps echoed down the hallway, and within seconds, Chijoke stood in the doorway, his eyes filled with shock. Adeze, what is the meaning of this? His voice was low but laced with urgency. I couldn't bring myself to look at him. If I did, I knew I might break down. I can't do this anymore, Chi. I can't live in a house where I'm treated like an outsider. I tried. I really tried, but your sister has made it possible for me. His face darkened and he took a step closer. So because of Amaka, you want to abandon our marriage? He asked, his face shaking with disbelief. I swallowed hard, trying to suppress the tears threatening to spill. It's not just about Amaka. It's about you, Chijoke. You never stood up for me. You never defended me against her. Every insult, every humiliation, I endured it alone while you watched in silence. His hands clenched into fists, frustration evidence in his stance. You know I love you, Adeze. I just didn't want to create problems in the family. Amaka is my sister. What do you expect me to do? I let out a bitter laugh. You expect me to endure this for the rest of my life? To keep pretending that I'm fine when your sister treats me like that? I won't do it, Chijoke. I won't let her destroy me. He took another step forward, his voice softer now. Please don't do this. We can fix this. I will talk to Amaka, I promise. I shook my head. It's too late. At that moment, a loud scoff interrupted us. I turned to see Amaka standing by the door, arms folded across her chest, a wicked smirk on her face. Wow, so the little wife is finally leaving. I was wondering how long you will last. My blood ran cold. Chijoke turned to his sister with a frown. Amaka, please. She raised a hand, cutting him off. Spare me the drama, Chi. If she wants to leave, let her go. She was never meant to be in this family anyway. I felt my heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. Chijoke said nothing. He just stood there, silent as always. And in that moment, I knew I had made the right choice. I reached for my suitcase, took one last look at the man I once thought was my forever, and walked out. The evening air was thick with silence. I dragged my suitcase down the stairs, each step flat heavier than the last, like my heart was sinking into the very floor I was walking on. I expected Chijoke to stop me, to call my name, to beg me one last time, but he didn't. The only sound that followed me was Amaka's scoffing laughter. Finally, I thought you would never leave, she muttered as she leaned against the stair railing, her arms folded across her chest in triumph. I turned to face her, my eyes burning with unleashed tears. I hope you are happy now, Amaka. You got what you wanted. She smirked. Oh, trust me, I am. My brother deserves better than a weak, emotional woman who cries over every little things. Marriage is not for girls like you, Adese. Her words cut deep, but I refused to let her see how much they hurt. I straightened my shoulders, tightening my grip in my suitcase. One day, Chijoke will realize what he lost, and when he does, I hope you are still there to clean up this mess. I turned away and walked out of the house, the door slamming shut behind me. The night air hit my face, but it did nothing to cool the storm raging inside me. Where would I go? I had no family in the city. My parents were back in the village, and I wasn't ready to explain why my marriage had fallen apart. I reached for my phone and dialed the only person I could think of, my best friend Ifoma. The phone rang twice before she picked up. Ada, babe, what's up? The sound of her voice broke me. The tears I had been holding back finally spilled, and I covered my mouth to muffle my sobs. Adeze, what's wrong? She asked, now alarmed. I left Ifoma. I left Chijoke. Silence. Then a deep sigh. Where are you? Outside the house. I don't know where to go. Come to my place now. I don't want you out there alone. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Thank you. As I hung up, I took one last look at the house where I had dreamt of building a family, where I had once believed love would be enough. Then I walked away, but I had no idea that living was just the beginning of another nightmare. Ifoma's apartment was small but warm, exactly what I needed after the coldness I had just left behind. As soon as I stepped in, she pulled me into a tight hug. I broke down in her arms, my body shaking with sobs I had been holding in for too long. Shh, it's okay, Ada. You did the right thing, she whispered, rubbing my back. But was it really the right thing? I pulled away and wiped my tears. Ifoma, I feel so lost. I gave everything to that marriage. I fought so hard to be accepted, and in the end, I still lost. She sighed and led me to the couch. Ada, you didn't lose. You chose yourself. That is not a lose. That is survival. I wanted to believe her. I really did. She handed me a glass of water, and as I sipped it, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Chijoke. Where are you? Come home, let's talk. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. I wanted to believe he meant it, that maybe, just maybe, he was finally ready to stand up for me. But then another message came in, this time from Amaka. Don't fool yourself, Adeze. My brother is only calling you back because he pities you. You were never wife material and you never will be. My fingers trembled, the tears returned, hot and stinging. What is it? Ifoma asked, peering over my shoulder. I showed her the messages. She let out a dry laugh. Can you see? Chijoke isn't even stopping her. That alone tells you everything you need to know. She was right. I turned off my phone and dropped it beside me. So what now? She asked gently. I let out a shaky breath. I don't know. Ifoma, I don't know how to start over. She smiled. Then let's figure it out together. But first, you need to heal. No more looking back. No more looking back. I nodded, determination settling in my heart. I had left my marriage. Now I needed to find myself again. But little did I know my past wasn't done with me yet. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of fried eggs and bread. For a moment, I forgot where I was. The bed beneath me felt unfamiliar, the room too quiet. Then it hit me. I wasn't in my matrimonial home. I wasn't Chijoke's wife anymore. Pain rushed through my chest, but I swallowed it down. I walked out to find the former in the kitchen, humming to herself as she flapped an egg into the pan. She turned and grinned. Finally, the runaway wife is awake. I managed a small smile. Ifoma, I don't even know where to start. She handed me a plate and pulled me to sit at the table. Start by eating, then we'll figure everything else out. I sighed. What about my job, my apartment, my life? Your job is still yours. Your life? You will build it again. As for an apartment, you can stay here for as long as you need to. Tears welled in my eyes. Ifoma, I don't want to be a burden. She rolled her eyes. Ada, shut up and eat, Jare. I let out a small laugh, the first real laugh in days. But just as I picked up my fork, my phone rang. I froze. Chijoke. Ifoma glanced at me. Are you going to answer that? I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. I don't know. My phone kept ringing. Pick it up if you want closure, or let it ring if you are done for good, Ifoma said quietly. My fingers hovered over the screen. Then, as the call ended, a message popped up. Adeze, we need to talk. It's important. I inhaled deeply. What could he possibly want now? Ifoma coughed. Maybe he finally grew a spine. Maybe Amaka is in trouble. Maybe he just misses controlling you. Either way, be careful. I nodded, but that part of me knew this conversation was going to change everything. I stared at the message for what felt like forever. Adeze, we need to talk. It's important. Chijoka had never been the type to insist on conversation. Whenever there was an issue, he chose silence over confrontation. So why now? Ifoma sat across from me, watching me closely. Are you going to meet him? I hesitated. Every part of me wanted to move on, to forget about the pain, to rebuild my life, but curiosity crawled at my chest. What if it's serious? I whispered. Ifoma sighed. Then let him say it over the phone, Ada. I just don't want you walking back into a situation that almost destroyed you. She was right, but still something didn't feel right. Before I could decide, another message came in. It's about Amaka. I sat up straight, my heart pounding. Amaka. What could have possibly happened to her? My fingers trembling as I tapped back. What is wrong with her? Chijoke's response was instant. Please, Ada, just meet me. I can't explain everything over text. I felt Ifoma's eyes pointing into me, waiting for me to say something. He said this about Amaka. She coughed. And why should you care? That woman made your life miserable. Let her deal with her problems. I wanted to agree, but I knew myself, despite everything, I wasn't heartless. I just need to hear what he has to say, I muttered. Ifoma folded her arms. Fine, but I'm coming with you. Relief washed over me. I wasn't ready to face Chijioke alone. An hour later, we sat in a quiet restaurant. I haven't seen Chijioke in days, and yet, the moment he walked in, my heart clenched painfully. He looked tired, his usual confident posture replaced with something almost defeated. His eyes met mine, and for a brief second I saw regret. He sat down, exhaling deeply. Thank you for coming, Ada. Just get to the point, Chijioke. Ifeoma cut in. He nodded. It's Amaka. She's missing. The words hit me like a punch. Missing? I echoed. He ran ahead over his face. She just went 2 nights ago and never came back. Her phone is off and no one has seen her since. For the first time, I saw something I never expected from Chijioke. Fear. And somehow I knew this was just the beginning of something even bigger. I sat frozen in my seat, my mind struggling to process Chijioke's words. Amaka is missing, I repeated, almost in disbelief. He nodded, his eyes filled with weakness. She went out 2 nights ago. No calls, no messages, nothing. It's not like her, Ada. Ifeoma coughed beside me. And why are you telling Adese? Since when did she become Amaka's keeper? Chijioke sighed. I know Amaka made life difficult for Ada, but she's still my sister, and whether you like it or not, she's family. I clenched my fist under the table. Family? I let out a bitter laugh. That means family that watched me suffer and did nothing. He lowered his gaze. I didn't come here to argue. I don't know what else to do. I've gone to the police, but they aren't taking it serious. They say she's an adult and might have left on her own. Maybe she did, if Oma muttered. But something didn't sit right with me. Amaka was many things. Cruel, manipulative, controlling. But she wasn't irresponsible. She wouldn't just disappear without a word. Where was she last seen? I asked before I could stop myself. Chijioke's face lighted up with a spark of hope. A restaurant in Lekki. She had dinner there and left around 9 p.m. After that, nothing. I rubbed my temples, trying to fight the headaches forming. So, what do you want me to do, Chijioke? His voice was almost a whisper. Help me find her. If you had asked me a week ago if I would ever do anything for Amaka again, my answer would have been a resounding no. But something in Chijioke's desperate eyes made me hesitant. Something told me this wasn't just about Amaka going missing. This was bigger. And I had a terrible feeling that somehow I was about to be dragged back into the storm I had barely escaped. I stared at Chijioke, my mind racing. Help me find her. Those words echoed in my ears, but no matter how much I tried to push them away, they clung to me like a heavy weight. Ifeoma was already shaking her head beside me. Ada, no. Whatever happened to Amaka is not your business. You have suffered enough because of that woman. She was right. I knew she was right. But something inside me just wouldn't let go. I just need to know what happens to her. I murmured, more to myself than to them. Ifeoma sighed loudly. And what if this is another trick? What if she's doing this just to pull you back into her nonsense? I turned to Chijioke, searching his face. Tell me the truth, Chi. Do you think this could be a game? He shook his head quickly. No, not this time. Amaka would never disappear like this, not without contacting someone. Something is wrong, Ada, and I can't shake the feeling that she's in real danger. A chill ran down my spine. Amaka was a lot of things. Controlling, manipulative, arrogant, but reckless. No, if she had gone missing, something serious must have happened. Fine, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Where do we start? Chijoke exhaled in relief. The last place she was seen was a restaurant in Lekki. I already spoke to the manager, but they didn't see anything unusual. I was thinking of going back there to check again. I nodded, then let's go. Ifoma groaned, rubbing her temples. This is a terrible idea, Ada. I hope you know that. I forced a smile. I do. But when have I ever listened to your advice? She rolled her eyes, but grabbed her bag. Fine, I'm coming with you. Someone needs to stop you from making dumb decisions. An hour later, we arrived at the restaurant. It was a fancy place, the kind Amaka loved, expensive, elegant, filled with people who cared too much about appearances. Chijoke led the way inside, and a young waiter approached us. You again? He said, eyeing Chijoke. Yes, Chijoke responded. Please, we just need to ask a few more questions about my sister. The waiter sighed and glanced around nervously before lowering his voice. Look, I don't know much, but I did see her that night, and she wasn't alone. I felt my stomach tightened. Who was she with? The waiter hesitated before finally saying, a man, a stranger. I had never seen him before. They were arguing about something, and she looked upset. Then they both left together. A heavy silence fell between us. And you don't know who he was? I asked, my voice barely steady. The waiter shook his head. No, but he wasn't someone we've ever seen here before. And honestly, something about him gave me a bad feeling. Chijoke tensed before me. Did she seem like she knew him well? The waiter hesitated again. I think so, but whatever they were talking about, it wasn't good. A deep uneasy feeling settled in my chest. Who was this man? And why did I have a sinking feeling that finding Amaka was going to lead to something far worse than anything of us had imagined? A deep chill ran down my spine as we left the restaurant. The waiter words displayed in my mind like a broken record. A man, a stranger. They were arguing, then they both left together. I stole a glance at Chijoke. His jaw was clenched, his hands bulged into fists. He was trying to stay calm, but I could see the storm raging inside him. We need to find out who that man is, I said quietly. Chijoke nodded. If only we had access to the restaurant CCTV footage. That could help. Ifoma, who had been silent for most of the conversation, suddenly spoke. Actually, maybe we can. Both Chijoke and I turned to her. I have a friend who works in tech security. He helped companies monitor their surveillance system. If I can get him to come here, he might be able to access the footage. My eyes widened. Are you serious? She smirked. You know I always have connections. For the first time that evening, a flicker of hope sparked inside me. Call him, Chijoke said. The sooner the better. Ifoma nodded and stepped aside to make the call. I exhaled, rubbing my temples. Chi, do you think this man, whoever he is, has something to do with Amaka's disappearance? His eyes darkened. I don't know, but if she was last seen with him, then he is the only lead we have. At that moment, Ifoma returned, her expression unreadable. He can do it, she said, but there is a problem. I stiffened. What is it? He will need permission from the restaurant management before accessing the footage. And let's be honest, they are not just going to hand it over. Chijoke cursed under his breath. So what do we do? Ifoma sighed. Either we convince the manager to let us in or we find another way to get what we want. I exchanged a glance with Chijoke. One way or the other, we were going to get that footage. But deep down, I have a horrible feeling that whatever we find was going to change everything. The tension in the air was suffocating as we sat inside the former's car, parked a short distance from the restaurant. So how do we do this? I asked, my fingers nervously typing against my lap. Ifeoma's tech friend, Daniel, had agreed to help us access the CCTV footage. But there was just one issue. We needed to get inside the restaurant security office without raising suspicion. Daniel adjusted his glasses and cleared his throat. The easiest way is to convince the manager to let us in. If that fails, he exchanged a look with Ifeoma. We may have to be creative. Creative? Chijioke frowned. What does that mean? Ifeoma smirked. It means we either charm our way in or find a distraction big enough to get Daniel inside. I let out a deep sigh. And what's the plan if we do get the footage? How do we even know this mystery man is still around? Daniel shrugged. We don't, but if we can at least see his face, we can start asking questions. I turned to Chijioke. Are you sure about this? His expression was hard, unreadable. I just want my sister back, Ada, whatever it takes. I swallowed the lumps in my throat and nodded. Then let's do this. The restaurant was buzzing with activities when we walked in. Soft jazz music played in the background as waiters moved swiftly before tables, taking orders. We headed straight to the reception desk, where a middle-aged man in a neatly pressed suit greeted us with a professional smile. Good evening. Welcome to the heaven. How may I assist you? Chijioke stepped forward. We need to speak with your manager. It's urgent. The man's smile fluttered slightly. May I ask what this is about? Ifeoma leaned in, lowering her voice. We are looking for someone who was last seen here 2 nights ago. A young woman. She might be in danger. The man hesitated before nodding. Wait here, please. We watched as he disappeared into the back. My hands were clammy, my heart pounding. If they say no, we move to plan B, Daniel whispered. I barely had time to proceed his word before the manager emerged. A tall woman with sharp features and an air of authority. Good evening. I understand you are looking for someone, she asked. Chijioke nodded. My sister, Amaka. She was last seen here with a man and we need to check your CCTV footage. Her lips pressed into a thin line. I'm afraid I can't allow that. Customer privacy is our priority. I left my stomach sink. Please, I tried again. She's missing. We just need to see who she left with. The woman shook her head. I'm truly sorry, but that is against our policy. Ifeoma cleared her throat. That is unfortunate, she said sweetly, because I was hoping I wouldn't have to call the police and tell them you are obstructing an active missing persons case. The woman's eyes widened slightly. Silence stretched between us. Then after a long pause, she sighed, follow me. My heart raced as we trailed behind her. Step by step, I felt the weight of the moment pressing down on me. Whatever we were about to see on that footage, it was going to change everything. The dimly light security office smelled of old coffee and stale air. The manager led us inside, crossing her arms as she turns to Daniel. You have 15 minutes. That is all I can give you. Daniel nodded, already setting up his laptop. Chijioke and I stood behind him, holding our breath as he accessed the CCTV footage from 2 nights ago. The screen flickered to life, displaying grainy black and white images of customers dining. Fast forward to 9 p.m., Chijioke instructed. Daniel moved the footage forward. And there she was, Amaka, sitting at a corner table, her arms folded as she spoke to a man whose back was turned to the camera. That is her, I whispered, my heart pounding. Chijoke leaned in, his face tense. Who is that man? Daniel zoomed in, adjusting the angles. The man's face came into view. A tall, well-dressed man with a thick beard and piercing eyes. He was talking to Amaka with an intensity that made my skin crawl. Does anyone recognize him? Ifoma asked. We all shook our heads. Daniel rewound the footage, playing their conversation frame by frame. At some point, Amaka stood up, slamming her hands on the table. The man grabbed her wrist, holding her in place. Post it there, I said urgently. Daniel froze the image. The expression on Amaka's face, she was terrified. My stomach twisted. She was scared of him. Chijoke ran a hand down his face. Who the hell is this guy? Daniel frowned, studying the screen. Wait, he looks familiar. I turned to him sharply. You know him? Daniel hesitated before nodding slowly. I don't know his name, but I've seen him before. He's connected to some underground dealings in Lagos. Big money, dangerous people. If Amaka was involved with him, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. A cold dread settled over me. I have spent years battling Amaka's hatred, but at that moment, for the first time, I was afraid for her. And I had a feeling that we had just uncovered something much darker than any of us were prepared for. A heavy silence filled the security room. The air felt thick, suffocating as we stared at the frozen CCTV image of the mysterious man gripping Amaka's wrist. Who is he? Chijoke muttered under his breath. His fist clenched at his side, his body rigid with tension. Daniel shook his head. I told you I don't know his name, but I know his type. He's involved in things people don't talk about openly. A shiver ran down my spine. You think he has something to do with Amaka's disappearance? Daniel exhaled. I don't think. I know. My heart pounded. As much as I resented Amaka, the thought of her being caught up in something dangerous sent fear crawling around my ribs. We need to find out who he is, Ifoma said, her voice firm. Daniel nodded, fingers flying over his keyboard. I will run his image through some online databases. If he has any sort of criminal records, I might find something. Chijoke paced the room. His breathing shallowed. She should have told me if she was in trouble. Why wouldn't she tell me? I wanted to remind him that Amaka was too proud to ask for help, too controlling to admit she was vulnerable. But now wasn't the time. Daniel suddenly cursed under his breath. What is it? I asked, my stomach twisting. He turned the laptop to face us, and my breath hitched. A profile page stared back at us. The man in the CCTV footage had a name. His name is Dominic Eze. Chijoke first went pale. Eze, as in the Eze family. Daniel nodded. Yeah, he's the son of Chief Eze, one of the biggest underground crime slots in Lagos. A stunned silence followed. Ifoma was the first to speak. Wait, are you telling me Amaka was involved with a criminal? Daniel didn't blink. Not just any criminal, a dangerous one. I felt my legs go weak. Chijoke looked like he was struggling to breathe. What the hell has my sister gotten herself into? No one had an answer, but one thing was clear. This wasn't just about Amaka anymore. We had just stepped into something much more bigger, and I wasn't sure if we would come out of it alive. A heavy silence filled the room as we stared at the name on the screen. Dominic Eze, the son of one of the most feared underground crime lords in Lagos. I felt my breath hinged as I turned to Chijoke. His hands were shaking, his face pale with shock. Amaka was involved with him? I whispered, still unable to believe it. Daniel nodded grimly. It looks like it, and if she was, she might be in deeper trouble than we thought. Ifoma let out a low whistle. This just went from bad to worse. Chijioke suddenly slammed his fist against the table. Damn it, Amaka, what were you thinking? His voice broke, and for the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. I placed a hand on his arm. We will find her, Chi. He swallowed hard and nodded, trying to steady his breathing. Daniel clinched on the profile, scrolling through details about Dominic Eze. He has a reputation for being ruthless, Daniel said. Money laundering, illegal businesses, smuggling, and let's not even get into the rumor about people who cross his way disappearing. My stomach twisted. Then we don't have much time. I said firmly, we need to find out why Amaka was with him. Chijioke jaw tightened. There is only one way to do that. I looked at him questioningly. We need to find Dominic. Ifeoma gasped. Have you lost your mind? Do you know who this guy is? We can't just walk up to him and ask about Amaka. Then what do you suggest? Chijioke snapped. Sit here and wait for the worst? Silence. I knew Ifeoma was right. This was dangerous, but Chijioke was also right. If we wanted answer, we had to take risk. We need to be smart about this, I said. We can't just confront him head on. We have to find a way to get close without raising suspicion. Daniel nodded. I might have a way. We all turned to him. I have a contact. Someone who moves in Dominic's circles. If we are lucky, he might be able to tell us where Dominic is, and if Amaka is still alive. A chill ran down my spine. If. I hated that word. I hated that we were even in this situation, but there was no turning back now. We had to find Amaka before it was too late. Thank you for watching this story. Tell me what you think will happen in part 2. Stay tuned as we watch part 2. Also, drop your comment in the comment section. Please, if you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel, do so by subscribing. Give this story a thumbs up, like, share it to someone who might be interested. Until I bring another part your way. Bye for now.